I'm here today as a mother,
professor,
an attorney since 1976,
local poet, actress,
physician, pediatrician,
as a Texan, a non-binary person, and a parent.
A Texan, educator, a pastor.
As an adult who has benefited immensely from trans healthcare.
I'm a pastor and priest in Pflugerville, Texas.
As a licensed Texas physician, an expert in the treatment of suicidality and self-harm.
As a mother and a fifth-generation Texan.
A son, a brother, a husband, a friend, a community member, and a business owner here in Texas.
I stand in staunch opposition to this bill.
I'm against Bill HB 1686.
In deep opposition.
Testifying against.
I unequivocally oppose
House Bill 1686. This healthcare is not a threat to children in this state, but poverty, gun violence, an underfunded education system, and high levels of actual child abuse are.
I'm immensely disappointed that I should have to sit here and talk to people twice, even 3 times my age, as to why my identity is valid, as to why I have to urge grown adults to stop targeting children when our earth is dying and violence is everywhere, but yet you still go after children. Kids like me who simply want to live our childhoods in peace. It absolutely terrifies me that this House is putting their power into prosecuting children who already have so much to deal with.
Trans child's biggest worry should be about this year's Halloween costume and not the opinions of the people in this room who claim to know their bodies better than they do.
I'm a member of the National Association of Social Workers, which condemns bills like 1686, and the NASW is in good company. The Texas Medical Association, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Psychological Association, and the Texas Pediatric Society have all spoken out in support of gender-affirming care and against bills that create barriers to care.
What about other forms of gender-affirming care? Hair implants for balding rich white men, or breast implants for rich white women, lip injections, man boob surgeries, you know what I mean. Are those also on the docket?
Texas is known for our love of small government and privacy. So why is this legislative body considering a bill that would remove our ability to make a private medical decision? Medical decisions should only be made between an individual, their family, and their doctor. It should not involve the government.
No ideology is more important than an American's right to love, life, and the pursuit of happiness.
We're losing the potential of what Texas could be. You care about business opportunities in this state? Companies aren't going to locate here when their employees tell them, no way could I raise a family in Texas. What if I have a kid who turns out to be trans? This is already happening.
When you think about faith values, family values, Texas values, that means trans people and their families.
I've heard so many claims that Texas is seeking to protect parents' rights, parental freedoms. But as someone said last week, we hear the big asterisk on that. In a state that purports to value freedom, reaching into the private medical decisions of those seeking care recognized as best practice worldwide simply doesn't make sense.
I want to be able to raise my kids in Austin safe in the knowledge that I will be able to do what is best for them, that I will be able to work with their doctors to give them the care that they need to live happy and healthy childhoods. How can you deny that right to Texas parents? How can you take away the rights of parents and doctors to make the decisions that are best for their kids? How is that small government? How is that freedom?
At no other time have you threatened my right as her parent to make medical decisions on behalf of my child. You trusted me and her medical team to determine the best individual insulin treatment and delivery system as she lives with type 1 diabetes.
My mother fought like hell for me to get gender-affirming care, and I owe my life to her and all the doctors that saved me and accepted me, that cheered me on when I got my first hormone shot. Because of them, I am here today, living my beautiful, authentic life.
82% of trans individuals consider suicide, 40% attempts. Highest rate is in trans youth.
The leading cause of death for transgender youth is suicide already. A yes vote on HB 1686 puts more of their innocent blood on your hands.
The American Medical Association conducted a study where they followed 100 trans and non-binary youth. They found that within the first 12 months, those that received access to gender-affirming healthcare, including puberty blockers and gender-affirming hormones, things that HB 1686 would deny minors access to, were 60% less likely to experience moderate to severe depression and 73% less likely to experience suicidality.
Youth receiving trans healthcare saw 60% lower odds of depression and 73% lower odds of self-harm or suicidal thoughts. Trans healthcare saves lives.
I made it to 18 where I was able to happily come out and start transitioning and start healing all the parts of me that 4-year-old me tried to hide. Now I'm 27 and I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life. I have a family that loves me and supports me, and I would not be here without having access to gender-affirming care. The only thing I regret is not transitioning sooner.
Many other accepted life choices have significantly higher rates of regret than trans-related care. Total knee replacement, 17%. Gastric sleeve, 20%. Trans-related care, 0.1 to 1% of a regret rate. And 1% is the high end of that.
My hope is that we all share genuine concern about the well-being of Texas youth. You may see the prohibition of puberty blockers as harm reduction. You may seek to protect kids from making misjudgments about their identities that could ultimately cause them more harm than good. If that's how you truly feel, I'm just inviting you to consider that the best way to keep kids safe is to give them more time by allowing them the chance to explore and forestall the irreversible changes that come with puberty.
I hope we can all agree the path to one's individual happiness is not standard. What brings a person peace in their own skin is not standard, and certainly not for the government to mandate. I urge you not to take away options. That's all gender-affirming care is. Options. A life-saving option gender-diverse minors can only access with the consent of their parents and guided by highly educated physicians.
Bills like House Bill 1686 seek to remove trans youth from society by denying them the ability to access health care. This will not stop youth from identifying as trans, but it will increase the number of trans youth who withdraw from participating in life.
We are losing people. We're losing trans kids who can read the writing on the wall. Abandon hope, all ye who enter here. That's what you're telling trans kids in Texas.
I don't like thinking about who I would have grown up to be if I didn't have support from medical professionals, if that person would have been happy or proud of who they are. Access to gender-affirming healthcare is a game changer for trans and queer minors.
Coming out saved my life. I fight because I don't want another trans youth believing that they are better off dead than alive. Only a society that is sick wants to take away healthcare from an already vulnerable community.
I work with trans youth in various non-clinical roles right now, and the kids I work with, know, and love are vibrant, kind, loving, and beautiful children. They have aspirations of becoming teachers, studying engineering, and going to school to become healthcare professionals themselves.
I served as an enlisted Marine and Army chaplain, deploying to Iraq from Fort Hood, Texas in 2005. To my dying day, I will do whatever it takes to protect trans people, young and old, from those who make laws specifically to hurt them and to restrict them from receiving the health care that they and all Texans deserve.
In 2020, I met the love of my life, a trans person. My conservative family was shocked and confused. How long did it take them to overcome that and accept my new partner? 1 week. How long will it take you? Decades?
I understand it's difficult to see something and not understand it and want to fight against it with everything you have because you see your children changing. Children change. I've changed, you've changed. We are not meant to be the people we were when we were toddlers.
My son, well, he started his transition at 14. And by that, I mean, he told me and I ignored it for as long as possible. Then I sought out care. He knew I was avoiding the inevitable fear. And the first doctor we met with seemed like he was more prepared to handle my kid, but not prepared to handle me. So I kept looking. And I found a gender clinic in Houston, and the doctor there took care of us as well as my son.
I came out at 12 years old, and although my parents are supportive in everything I do, they didn't completely understand what being transgender meant for me. So they took me to a professional, a gender therapist. This is also the first step to starting HRT or hormone replacement therapy as a minor, which I would like to mention is not easy to get.
I must say that I have personally considered, and this is really hard to speak about, gender-affirming care with the intent to transition in the past. After consulting with my provider, I chose not to pursue it. I was born male and remain as such. I was not pushed into any decision about whether or not to transition. I was given facts and sound advice about my situation. I'm happy that I worked with my provider to figure out what was right for me. But what was right for me will not be right for everyone. I cannot deny that I've witnessed my friends who did transition become happier, healthier, and more confident in life as a result.
I'm confident that those of you who are supporting this bill don't know many trans youth, because I think if you did, you couldn't be supporting this bill. I do know many trans youth, and the young people I know
thrive after they're coming out. And that's what I want you to know about. They're more confident, they're happier. A lot of them become more connected to their friends. They really just like blossom. There's no other word for it.
No matter how much love and support his family and friends provided, nothing really worked until he began receiving gender-affirming care. Once he started presenting the way that felt right for him, I watched him flourish.
It was a struggle to access the life-saving, gender-affirming care I needed. It only gets more difficult as legislators who have never talked to a trans person try to criminalize our existence. But this is the only fight that has ever felt worth it, because trans healthcare saved my life. For the first time ever, other people could see me, and more importantly, I could see myself. I stopped covering my mirrors.
Why do you want to ban treatment that actually helps people like me? I'm a trans woman who knew that I was a woman as far back as I can remember. I was repeatedly bullied by my peers for being too feminine and harassed by adults who tried to force me to be a man. As a teen, I watched in helpless horror as puberty changed my body in ways that weren't right for me. I grew increasingly dysphoric and depressed. My depression continued to worsen until I started hormone therapy, which slowly began to relieve much of my symptoms. That, combined eventually with surgery, has now relieved the majority of my dysphoria. I say the majority because the fact that I didn't receive hormone therapy or puberty blockers when I was a teen means I'm still having to deal with changes that could have easily been prevented.
How can you say that you care about children when children are being gunned down, their education defunded, their health care restricted?
All these kids want is the opportunity to be authentically themselves, and this bill will cause irreparable harm to them.
If this bill becomes law, and if any part of you believes there is a correlation between this healthcare and lowering odds of suicidality, I want you to ask yourself this question each time you hear a trans or queer Texan takes their life. Could my rejection of House Bill 1686 and others like it have prevented this outcome? Or am I at peace with my choices, no matter the lives they may have cost?
And if opposition to this bill, if this bill does not make it to the law of Texas, to know that it saves even one life is more than enough reason to oppose it.
I want our trans children to grow up. I want my trans friends to be elders. I want the trans children of today to be the elders of tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow.
And to the trans youth in our communities that may be watching today,
you are so fearlessly loved by this community, and we can't wait to meet you.
You are divine, you are important, and your existence cannot be erased. No matter what happens, we will always be here to see you and affirm you and love you and support you, and we will fight for you, for all of us.
Regardless of how this bill goes, we are here for you, by your side. You in every way are worth standing for.
We will continue to fight for y'all's rights every opportunity that comes up, and we love you.
Protect trans kids! Protect trans kids!
Protect trans kids. Join the fight at equalitytexas.org.